John Quincy Adams comes up with this plan that would end slavery in 3 steps, and he does this in 1843, 20 years before the Civil War. It doesn't happen.
Right.
Well, he continues to serve in Congress, and in his last term in Congress, something fairly significant happened. As he's there, a member of Congress, still fighting against slavery, but now he's converted most of at least the House to his position. He ends up dying in midterm of Congress. It was in the middle of that session. He was standing up as if he was going to make a speech, and he ended up falling over his desk. When he fell over his desk, there were 4 other members of the House that were physicians came over, and he'd had a stroke essentially and ended up dying 3 days later there inside the Capitol. But in that last term he had in Congress, he only had a half term, but in that last time that he had been elected, he's getting new people elected to Congress all the time. He's been there 17 years. Every time there's an election, somebody new comes in somewhere. And one of the new ones that had come in that election, that 1846 election, was a young guy. And he came in, he'd run for Congress before, had not been elected, but he got there, and for whatever reason, John Quincy Adams really liked this kid and just kind of befriended him and mentored him and took him under wing and just kind of had a brain dump into him. You know, all this stuff about slavery and how we can end slavery and the steps you can go through that would end slavery. And they hadn't been able to get the Senate to do it, but he still got this plan. And so when John Quincy Adams dies, this young kid, he's become close enough to that this young kid becomes one of the official pallbearers at John Quincy Adams' funeral. So this young kid ends up running Congress again, doesn't get reelected. So the only time he had in Congress was this 1 year of a 2-year term with John Quincy Adams. Next time this kid gets elected was in 1861 as President of the United States. It was Abraham Lincoln. He had 1 term with John Quincy Adams. And guess what he put into place when he became president?
Wow.
Same little plan to end slavery. Went through so many of the same things that John Quincy Adams had told him about. So here you've got one generation planning in the next generation, and that's really one of the neat features that even as Christians we need to do. The Pilgrims were great on this. They had a stepping stone mentality because in the Mayflower Compact they said that they came for the propagation of the Christian faith. They're going to get everybody in America converted to Christ. They're so busy trying to stay alive, they didn't get it done. They said, but you know, we think that we can be stepping stones for our children. Right. We'll get far enough down the road that maybe they can. And it's kind of that way with John Quincy Adams. Great Christian statesman in the Capitol, remarkable story, but that little bit of time that he had with a young kid named Abraham Lincoln that 15, 20 years later develops into something that finally did put the nail in the coffin of slavery, something John Quincy Adams would have loved to have seen. But nonetheless, it got done.